Okay. Alright. I am here later than usual, and I apologize for that, especially for those who are waiting. I almost thought I would miss today's live, but some days are just crazier than others, and it's taken a little longer to put down the whole family to sleep, to bed. Anyway, I have to share this time and space with a violin practicing in the background, if you can hear. My husband is practicing for a concert, and so I have a live at the same time, so you know how it is. You're gonna have some music. I also wanted to crack out my new watercolor, another watercolor set that I have, a pencil set that I have, but we'll do it on a less harassed day. Okay, so today's reference, and we need to pick. As you can see, I've cleaned up my palette completely clean, spick and span, and we'll do some. So today's illustration, let me just check if I can get it up here just to show you the daily sketch. Some sort of spring rolls today. Interesting, because it's got a nice fried crust, which you want to get all those browns and yellows in, and then there's that red sauce, some spring onions, and so let's see how we're going to tackle this. Yeah, that's our sketch reference for today. Now I always pick out the colors I want, so I'm going to do the same today as well. We have orange, red, dark red, maybe even pink. Yeah. Then we have yellow ochre, gamboge, a little bit of yellow ochre, maybe, or maybe not. Maybe we can directly go to this brown. Maybe do we need a dark brown? I don't think we need a dark brown today. Probably not. Yeah. Or maybe a dark brown. Let's just keep that there. Dark brown. Let's keep the black. We always keep black handy. Now I need to pull out some green, and I know I have a green inside that's become rather short, and I haven't pulled it out in a while. So let me see. Yeah, this is a good green. Green. Yeah, will do. I think this should be enough. We should be able to get going. If we need something, we can always come back to our set. So my pencils are all out. Next action is to sketch. So again, the picture is a bunch of spring rolls, and I'll do this in pencil, very as brief as I can make it. Sorry, I'm looking for my reference on the screen out here, and it's taking a little long to load. The violin is screeching away. Okay, what am I making? I'm making some spring rolls, and I don't know if everybody knows what spring rolls are. I'll show this to you once again. So a spring roll looks like this. It's a baked, not baked, sorry, my mistake. Fried, deep fried snack. It's got usually some sort of veggie stuffing or maybe even sometimes chicken, but this is a rather odd stuffing. I'm not sure what it is. So I'm going to just sketch what I see. It doesn't matter what it is. So sometimes when you're sketching, it's nice not to know what you're sketching, because then you can be very objective. You can look at shapes, you can look at colors and just match them without worrying about what the item really is. And this is a nice way to look at it, because the brain often interferes when it knows something. So that is so not knowing what you are painting is not a bad thing. Of course it is nice to know, and if you knew something, it's always I mean, it will help, but it also causes some sort of interference as far as your what your eye sees. Okay, so this is what we're sketching today. I'll keep this aside because I don't have space for everything, and I'm going to just start drawing the shapes. Okay, zooming in, I have, now before I get on to this part, maybe I should start with the bowl. There is a bowl over here which is quite wide. I said wide and I have made it quite narrow. Expect. There's the interference already. Now, next to this bowl is my first spring roll, a curvy thing like this. I'm going to have to make that correction here. These are not very fixed lines, so maybe I should just draw this in the pencil color itself. That may not be a bad idea. So let's do that. Come. I will draw this directly in pencil so I can make the line wobbly, right? So this is the, when I say pencil color, this is watercolor pencil. Sorry, I should be very specific about that. Okay, then we have this part over here, another piece that comes out from somewhere here. I'm trying to be uniform in the shape. I don't want one of the spring rolls to be more, I mean, wider or chunkier than, yeah, than the one you've done first. Okay, that's two. Next one is kind of hiding. It sits here. Lines are all wobbly, so don't worry too much. Let it wobble. Then there's one sitting underneath here. Somewhere here. Okay. There's a lot of detail to be added. Huh? I'm just putting in what looks like a shape. That's it. I'm not being very careful. Yeah, I'm just matching shapes. So here's, then there's this piece over here. Goes out. And that's it. Anything else? Cilantro can be added later. Now, as far as the bowl is concerned, I can probably just finish the bowl with my pencil because I don't want to pull out. I don't want to pull out the gray right now. I'll just do the pencil and manage. Maybe it's too deep. Yeah, it is too deep. A little less. And because it's pencil, I can make this correction and lighten the whole thing just generally. Okay, so there's our bowl. Then inside of this bowl, there's obviously a slight, border of sorts. and inside somewhere here starts that reddish colored gravy. And over here we're going to show a little bit of a border as well. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about the plate because really this is more than enough. So let's get started with the coloring. I am looking at this the light for our rolls are the light is falling from the right hand side, but at the same time there's shadow over here, so only this section here has yellow, a brighter yellow. There is some yellow over here, some over here, definitely some here. You'll see me do this just putting in the yellows at a few places, just a bit. Here it is very light, only on the border. What else? Now get into some orange. There's definitely a lot of orange. Now here it's not really orange as much as it is brown, so I'll go in with a little brown as well. Don't worry too much. We will add a lot more detail as we proceed. So if something doesn't work too well in the first wash, or the color is a little bit, what shall we say, the hue needs to be corrected, it can be corrected. We are still working on a very light consistency. Oh, sorry, a light, a wash kind of consistency. Okay, so orange is put. Let's try a little bit of brown. So brown at this end, brown a little bit on the border here. Now all of this over here is well fried, so you will find this brown all over the place. A little bit here. No, I forgot to put in the orange here. But the brown will be nice. If I could just put the brown, it will be very defined, well defined there. Now here I can put in a shadow brown, and same way here, the the curve of the spring roll. Okay. Done? Yeah. Inside I'm not going to do much. I'm going to leave because this is a kind of creamy looking inside, so I'm going to just leave that be. What should I do now? I can put in the red. So start with the orange on the outside, a little bit of orange, followed by red. No, not this red. Is it this red? Yeah, it's this red. Should be enough. If it helps, we can put in a few pieces of spring onions. Now the ones inside I will avoid right now. I'll do that later. Just putting these shapes in here. Oh, we have to do this later. My mistake. Can't do this right now because it's going to interfere. So I should be careful. We'll lift that up when we let it. Okay, good enough. Let's start. So now brushes, I'm going to take a medium sized brush. keep this as light as possible because I'm going to go in with a gray or a black. So I really don't need this to be very dark. Keep this very light. Light to dark as always. So as you can see, it's quite a light color. When you're adding the pencil color, you may think it is dark, but it lightens quite a bit once painted. Light portion. The only good thing I guess I can appreciate one good a positive from, I mean, if I were to think of watercolors and their watercolor pencils and their qualities, is that the water, because we're being very gentle with it, doesn't spread. And so unlike regular watercolor paints, spreading and bleeding, that's not so much a problem. Now there's the green that's gonna, oh, it's okay. I thought it was gonna be messy. So when I do this border, if I were doing watercolor, this border would bleed into into this color a lot more, and that does not happen with the watercolor pencils. The water is so restricted. Even if I were to put more water, still it wouldn't move the same way. There you go. So there is a slight thickness here because it's a roll. It's a spring roll, right? So the substance of that wrapping is slightly thick. You can show that here. See, it doesn't have to be a thin line there. And up to the top. Right. Now I should probably bring in the gray pencil I was talking about. There is a gray pencil here. It's here. And let's see whether it makes sense to go with a gray. Put in a little bit of gray there. Then you have some gray over here, right under the rim. Definitely some dark gray shades here. Now under this bowl, definitely we have a lot of black, which I will touch later. Now let's just work with the grays, then wash off the color. There, nice gray color. Oops, I really need to clean the I do enjoy how the picture emerges when it's, or as somebody called it once, rendering of this, the rendering of this pencil color with, I mean, the way it just so beautifully becomes liquid, really pretty. We'll add the shading in later. Okay, so most of it is done in terms of wash, from a wash perspective. Slightly damp. Now these really don't matter because they're very small. You can't see the difference from the dry pencil stage to the wet watercolor stage. Can't see much. Okay, now comes the detail. Here's my trusty palette. Now I'm going to start with the detail on the spring rose. It has a lot of these, um, you know, frying boils, I like to call them, because patches of um, fried portions that are little browner than the rest of the surrounding crust. So let's just shave in this brown here with a cutter. Now this brown is actually not needs it needs what shall I say? It needs sharpening, a little bit of sharpening. So let me just see if I can just do that right away. I was talking to my son recently, telling him that only like only about 60, 70 years ago, his grandparents did not have a sharpener like this, and their school mornings involved sharpening of pencils in this manner. How far we've come. It feels rudimentary doing this. An archaic activity. Now I'm going to be a little careful because I don't want any of that. I only want the wood to come off. Not the pigment. So be careful. It starts to peel off quite well, you know. You just have to have some control over the blade. These activities that I feel the joy of the opposable thumb. Alright, that's out. Now for the little bit of shaving. Now I like to put my shaving in the corner of the palette because then it leaves the other corner free to mix a color. And I'm quite certain we will need a little bit of orange. So I'm going to keep that at this end. Yeah. Now the fun part. Wet these. Let's see what happens. Ooh, Plenty of liquid. Wonderful. Clean the brush and let's get this side moving too. You have to be a little patient with the pigment. These pieces don't all dissolve in one go. So just swirl it around a bit. There, I think most of it is gone. And I will kind of bring these two together just to see the shade. Now I'm going to put it on the darkest portion so that even if it is dark, there's no harm. Right? So it is quite dark. I can put that here as well. This portion is definitely dark. Can wet it a little bit and start putting small patches. Press down your brush and whatever mark it leaves should be adequate to give you the sense of roughness, you know, the texture on the crust. There's some here as well. Let's put that here. You have to do these with a very fine brush. Also size 0, a fine brush like that is important. Now on this end there is a little bit of shade, but not too much. We have to keep it light. So I haven't dipped into the brown, just the orange, and I'm trying not to deepen the color too much on that side. Okay, as far as the inside is concerned, a little bit of orange, just orange over here. See, orange is a very light color. And then into that you can add in this brownish hue. Yeah. I'm going to try to move on, because if you get stuck putting in too much of detail, it could just become a long drawn experience. So let's just get on with the next few. If there is something to come back to, we'll do that. We'll do that a little later. So here's the dark shadow, I mean not shadow, the darkest portion. A little bit of that orangish color here, and more of this is actually brown, so blend that brown in. Then we have again an orange, play of orange here, light orange, followed by a little bit of darker brown here. Yeah, that should do it. Now this portion here is actually quite dark. If you want to do that right away, you can drop in a little bit of the dark brown, but we could come back to it later as well, so don't worry too much about it. On to this next one, same treatment, orange, a little bit of orange and brown mix. Use that brown here, a little bit of orange, brown in here. Wobble your brush. It's really nice to wobble the brush when you're doing these borders, because then you can hope to get some you can hope to make the outline a little bit uneven, and that's a good touch. Okay, pressing down a little bit should be enough. A little bit on this side too, spots, and a little bit of brown. I need to add some water. Brown is becoming quite dry, so put in some water and let's finish this off. Now this looks dark, I know, but it is not very dark. It'll dry lighter than this. Okay, there's some character now. Now some orange. Now at this point I'm going to just put orange out here. Most of this particular spring roll is dark actually, because of the shadows and the fact that it's not getting any light. So first let me finish off all the orange work that I need to do. So there is orange, spots of orange everywhere, of course, and then we will start putting in the dark color. Now before I proceed, I need a little bit of black, so I'm going to just shave in some black on this corner, nearly here, because I don't need too much. Enough. See, really vibrant. And I'm going to put this here with a little bit of water, mix it around with the brown so I get a deeper shade of brown. Okay, now why would I need this? I would need it for certain portions that are really dark. I'm just going to look at my reference again. This last one is quite dark, so what I'm going to do is leave a border here, okay, showing you that the top one is there. Now I can wash off and take a little bit of the brownish orange, and I don't have much orange left, so you need to and just kind of dilute it, the dark brown edge that we gave, just dilute it a little bit. Okay, back to needing orange. This can be the tedious part, where you have to keep on scraping some, activating it. But think of it as no spill, right? You can carry your pencils wherever you want, scrape only what you need. And in terms of mess, yes, you are saving a lot of the mess by just using the pencils. We are at day 17 today, and I'll be very honest, I'm still not entirely bowled over by watercolor pencils. I'm not saying they're bad, I'm just saying it's more cumbersome, and I can feel that cumbersome quality. Okay, does that make the whole thing look darker? I think so. Yes. Seems to be a little bit here that needs to be darkened. Yeah. Done. Now what shall I do? This one? This dark color that we just now toyed with over here, it's also there here, you know. And maybe it's a good time, since we're doing the other one, to do this as well. I think the best thing to do is just put in a little bit of the orange and soften up this dark edge we put. So now with watercolor, this would have been a lot easier, because the watercolor would really blend very well. With the pencils, I find that the blending is really challenging, not as neat. That's my problem. It's not as neat. It's more dry, and so it's just sitting there, not moving, refusing to budge. So that can be challenging. Okay, next part. Take a little bit of that black, put it under this portion. At the bottom of this also is that brown that needs to go below. Okay, coming to this. Orange on the back of this. And on the back of that, I really need to get my a lot more orange out. Now when I do that, I will suddenly be done with all the orange I need. That's usually how it is. Just when I do that. This is looking so stark white. It's really funny. Light bit of shadow. Since I put the black, I thought why not put the shadow. That same shadow can actually go here too. Okay, we've got most of the crust. Now for the inner part of this thing, I will take a little bit of red. It's a very odd thing because I'm going to use it like pink. So a little bit. Wet it. There seems to be some sort of shape like this. See, a few little pinky pink sections. Maybe they're not as pink as they are orange. That's it. And after that, there is some gray, but the gray is like so light and so gentle. You should not be able to see much of it. See? See over here. Now with my small brush, what I'll do is I'll take that little bit of gray, very very gentle and subtle, and put a little bit of a some sort of a shadow. I want to call it. I'm not sure if I should call it a shadow. Just a tendency to show that outline. This is where it ends. Okay, I think that should be enough. We need a little bit of yellowish brown, maybe over here. I'm just looking for some yellowish, something yellowish. That white is still standing out at me. Now, is there a shadow on these things? Yeah, there is a shadow here, and all of these little green things have a shadow. So before we put those, we'll need to shave some green. So before we do that also, let's just finish the black shadow here at the base um, of the bowl, right? So this shadow goes in all the way, and over here, let's deepen it just a bit. There. Now what do we do? Get the gray out, lighten it nice and proper, so that we have a slight gray here, a hint of a gray here underneath. We can lighten that with more water, just a hint. See? So lighten that, let that line come through. Now on this side, I'm going to play with some gray over here as well. So we have some gray sitting here, but I'm going to lighten it more. And that light can come here as well. Clean up. Done. Now that that is done, soften this here. What else? Shadow here. I've forgotten a shadow entirely. There's a nice dark shadow here. A little more black. This whole area is dark, so we can just clean the brush, continue softening. That whole thing can be left. Done. Greens now. Before we get to the greens, we need to sharpen off. Oops. Green goes in this. This is quite bright, So a little bit of the brown should take care of that. Where's the brown? Yeah. Let's not scrape. Let's take it from the... Okay. Put a little bit of brown, black, and let's swirl it in and make it dark. Still too bright. A little bit of black. Yes. Now we're getting a darker green. A little more. Yeah, that's even better. So now this kind of a shade we can apply to some part of this green over here. We can start putting in the colors on top. There is one green here. Right. And there are two here. Where else? We have, okay, we have some green in here, so we're going to show that. One piece here, a tiny one here, tiny one here. Same thing on this side, piece here. Should be enough. Now we can put a little bit of a shadow. A very strange thing to do, but it's actually very pretty. Take that black, you know, and put a slight shadow under each of these cilantro piece. Sorry, what is it? What pieces are these? Spring onions. Just a wee bit, just to show that yes, the light is catching everything. Now to darken that bit there. Before I darken it, I need a little bit of red to be shaved in. And I had some, but I need more. This is not red, this is pinkish. And into that I will put some red. We will darken this further, but first let me apply some of it. Let me apply this bit. So I'm going to just make certain shapes here while I fill this up. See? Clean it up a little bit. Because the border is light, watery, and as you come inward, that color is vibrant. So this is done. Gets darker. Now as we come inward, we can darken this a little bit more. So I'll put in a little bit of black. Right. See? Isn't that pretty? So I think that was enough of black to darken this portion. That looks like some chunks floating in there. I think this is good enough. A little bit of brown, perhaps. It's just a little bit of brown and orange. Let me just see if I can darken this portion a little bit. It feels like it's become light, and usually that does happen when you are revisiting the very first application of the darker shades. Usually you have been very careful, and so it's lighter now. It appears lighter, so you can darken this just a wee bit. I think that's good enough. Anything else we're missing? The perfectionist tendency tends to not allow you to stop, because there's just a little bit more that could fix, a little bit more you could do here, maybe there, and you've got to fight that. Like, you really have to fight that urge. Done. That's it. Spring rolls. And today is day 17 of 31. Thanks for joining in. I hope this was fun. See you tomorrow. Bye.